name Morgan, and today I'm excited to read to you a poem that I wrote, and it is dedicated to my late great-grandmother. Heritage. You passed along a tradition. I remember hearing stories when I was growing up about how you sewed dolls' clothes for my grandma for Christmas. I remember how you were able to make ends meet and taught my grandma an essential skill that, at times, helped her to make ends meet as well. You sewed, and you taught your daughter to sew, and she taught my mother, and through all three of you, my foremothers, I picked up on the skill. I'm not efficient at sewing, but every time I operate my machine, I'm reminded of how you took such good care and put love and maintenance into the machine itself, and that it could help you achieve your goals and sew fine, even stitches at a speed that could never be achieved by hand. You owned your craft. You were constantly learning new techniques well into old age, till you passed on your machine to my mother and me, a machine from the 90s that was still running smooth in the 2010s, a machine that had served you for 2 decades or so of its life. One of its computerized parts has since reached the end of its days, and its replacement isn't made anymore. But I can't bear to get rid of it, even though it can't be repaired by any of the repair shops Mom and I have tried to take it to. You taught me how to cut out a pattern, and how not to dull the blade of Mom's expensive sewing scissors. There were so many skills that I didn't have the time to learn from you when you were alive, but while you were decluttering one day, you asked me if I wanted all your sewing books and your magazines, and so you gave me a treasure trove of knowledge. You gave me the literature that you'd learned from yourself, keeping alive knowledge that I hadn't had the time to learn from you when your time was still ticking and there was breath in your lungs. You gave me your lifetime's worth of tools, the cutting mat and the cutting table, which is too tall for me, as while heights never ran in our family, I'm still shorter than you were. You gave me more thread than I'll ever use, and a rainbow's worth of colors, and bobbins to wind it up on, and pins and patterns collected over many years that I'd never be able to afford in one go. It's funny how sewing used to be a necessity done to stretch a frugal budget, whereas now, getting into sewing costs an exorbitant amount of money because a good quality machine in and of itself ain't cheap, and all the notions and fabric and books to learn from and patterns to cut out, those add up. Sewing from scratch is no longer the economical choice that it once was. It's gone from a core skill done out of necessity to clothe family members, and something that housewives did on the side to make ends meet, and become, for many, a hobby, done for enjoyment, as we try to forget where our clothes and our towels and our bed sheets and curtains come from, as us Americans in the 21st century blissfully forget that our textiles come from somewhere, and that the workers who made them probably weren't paid a living wage. Thank you, great-grandma, for doing all that you did to provide for my grandmother, for being a brave woman who lived during a time where women didn't have many opportunities, for using a skill that women were taught, sewing, to better the life of your family, to make things that you otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford. Thank you for teaching your descendants how to sew, and for not letting the skill disappear with you. While you may be gone, you live on in the way that you've touched our lives. The traditions you've taught to your children and their children and me provide a link to you. Thank you for teaching me my heritage, for passing sewing down the line, and for being there for me, for my mother, for my grandmother, and all my family members, for forging a future, for surviving through the hardships of the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, and for divorcing your abuser, even when it wasn't socially acceptable to do so. Thank you for being a good role model, a brave, strong woman in a society that didn't always treat women well. Thank you for passing on the skills that helped you survive as a woman, like how to sew, and thank you for being resilient. I miss you, and your legacy lives on, and all the skills that you taught me along the way. Thank you.